fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. And now, whenever we last left off, it has been some time for Midoriya. Now, Midoriya, after a couple of months of having his superpowers, or what he thought to be powers or a quirk, he has been taken in by the organization who injected him with the thing's virus, or basically a refined version of its blood. Now, this has gone through a lot of changes within Midoriya's body. Midoriya, unknowingly, is having a battle for his very life. And the thing's cells have been recreating within his body. Now, granted, they cannot pierce any of the cell walls and basically make a hostile takeover. However, Midoriya's body is still going under the effects of rapid change, his mind and body staying his, instead of being underneath this strange alien's influence. Now, with that, Midoriya, he has been going through some tests. And the facility, they do want to understand what Midoriya is able to do. Now, Midoriya has also been suffering from some mental, drawbacks, you could say. Ever since he's gotten the abilities, he's also been noticing strange things. His hunger randomly increases. He's had loss of taste, loss of smell, and many other strange abilities, along with the fact that he's had strange dreams and nightmares. And now that he's been captured and the tests have begun, he's able to understand those nightmares more. Now, with that, Midoriya, he does wake up today. And it has been an unknown amount of time for him. He's put to sleep, woken up, and has more tests put on him. They don't treat him as if he's a human anymore. And Midoriya, he is actually informed of what he is to do. They're going to have a guard come and get him. However, if he makes any moves to go at the guard, he will be torched and burned alive. Now, Midoriya does find that to be quite weird. Why would they burn him alive? They could just shoot him. This doesn't make any sense. Okay. Midoriya following as he is ordered to, getting up against the wall and putting his hands against it. The guard walking in, and Midoriya looking up to this man, who stands taller than Midoriya, covered in a giant metal suit. And he actually does raise his hand up, and the very tip of his finger does actually open up on the metal suit, as a small flame actually is visible. The man heavily clanking to his left, and for Midoriya to go out after him, or go out in front of him. Midoriya taking a few steps forwards, hesitantly, turning around to look at the man, who quickly just at least does have this flame somewhat spark up brighter. Midoriya quickly just moving, as while he's still looking behind him, he does actually smash into a guard, and go to back away. The guard quickly running forwards and turning around. Now, with that, Midoriya does actually fall down and land on his back, seeing the guard, who simply just does bring up both of his hands, the fingertips opening up. Now, this is quite strange, and Midoriya just braces himself to be lit on fire, thinking that he is about to die, to which he is not. Now, today they do have some particular test that they would like to try, and they are wondering about it all. Now, they are going to be trying to push Midoriya's abilities, and see if certain reports they know about are true. Now, he is actually led to a room where he does actually find certain people. Now, he finds two humans, or disposable personnel, and he is then strapped down to a table. These two people listening to what they are told. They are wearing basic gear and stuff to protect themselves from Midoriya's blood and possible other body fluids, unaware that they are heavily underdressed for this situation. Now, this is whenever Midoriya, he actually does look down or look over and see what they are currently holding. One man is holding a hatchet, while the other one looks to be holding what might be a meat cleaver. Midoriya immediately begins to fight against his restraints, asking them exactly what are they doing, and screaming and trying to beg with them to not do whatever they're about to do. Tears beginning to roll down his face. Midoriya is just begging them not to do it. They did something to him and he doesn't know what, and he's very scared. Talking about how he wants his mother, and he wants his father. He wants them to undo whatever they did. Now, Midoriya is screaming this, unaware that the staff members have been given earplugs. They cannot hear Midoriya's scream. And Midoriya, to them, he just looks like a crying and begging subject. Now, they begin their operation, or what they were told to do. I won't go into detail, but in summary, it is theorized that whenever smaller pieces are taken from the larger subject, they go into their own survival mode, or they manifest and turn into a smaller version of the creature. So, you can see where that goes. And Midoriya actually does have his left arm hacked off, directly at the elbow. And he does scream out in pain, feeling everything that is currently happening. And it's quite odd, as Midoriya's vision gets blurry. And we do actually cut to some time within the past, as Midoriya can hear and see things he's unfamiliar with. Sounds. And people's voices. Screaming that the subject is on the loose, the subject is on the loose. And someone actually talking about how it got their friend. Jesus Christ, they didn't even realize he was infected. Talking about how they might be infected themselves, before a large gunshot can be heard. And there are some screams. Now, with that being said, Midoriya is actually cut back into where he is, as he simply just does look down at the man. The equipment he used and his hands and arms, which are covered, do have red bloodstains on them. And the medical research team does actually watch, as blood begins to go back down onto the floor, before beginning to climb its way onto the table, into Midoriya's arm and hand. Now, the men actually do watch this, along with what does currently happen next. Midoriya, he simply just does watch it happen, as his blood vessels in his arm, along with other tendons and muscle fibers, do reach out, and they grab back onto the area that has been cut, before the arm slowly does actually pull itself back in, and the area does try and heal up, Midoriya beginning to move his hand and his fingers once again. Now, the medical research team does find this to be fascinating, and they do want to test this theory out more. Just because Midoriya got lucky once does not mean anything, and they do perform more of these rapid tests, taking what could be described as samples or tissue samples and other samples from Midoriya's body. Now, Midoriya, he's going through quite a lot of torture. However, they call it testing. And certain people do begin to try and put it into Midoriya's head. This is for the greater good. And we do actually have today. Midoriya does wake up. And he goes back to his nightmares. Back then, they seemed like the worst thing he could ever imagine. Now, he has nightmares when he's awake. They keep talking and instructing him that he's going to save humanity. However, he doesn't even believe that anymore. He doesn't know what to say to it all. Humanity? So what? Him being tortured and treated like this is for the betterment of mankind? He wishes he was quirkless. He wishes he was still that sad, weak young boy with a notebook. Instead, there he is now. Now, Midoriya does want to imagine what could have happened. What his life could have been like if he never signed up for this program. He wouldn't have ever heard about it. He wouldn't ever have volunteered. He knew what type of risk there could be. However, anything to be a hero, right? Now he's being told and given the illusion. He's a hero now. He doesn't believe that. A hero would sacrifice himself to protect people. However, this isn't sacrifice. This is hell. And we actually do have a villainous thought appear in Midoriya's head today. He wants to kill them. He wants to make them feel everything he's been feeling. Whatever he feels, he can feel its pain, its fear, its hunger, and its desires. All primal and strange. The staff have been trying to understand it before. And Midoriya is actually sat down today, in a heavily guarded room. Now, this is whenever somebody actually does walk in, a doctor. And they actually do have a firearm at their side, or at their hip. And Midoriya actually does see this. Him going to stand up and respectively bow. However, we actually have the chains that hold him to the ground shake and clackle, as many different men do bring up their weapons. And Midoriya slowly does actually sit back down. The person telling Midoriya that that is not necessary. And that test subject 001 has actually shown quite remarkable feats. And that he should be given the truth. Now, Midoriya is confused. What do they mean, the truth? Now, this is whenever they do actually begin to talk about it. What they did to Midoriya, them actually bringing up a projector and talking about it. It showing pictures and gruesome images. Midoriya is simply just watching, as the men and women in the room do begin a conversation. Midoriya hearing this entire board of doctors talk about a specimen that landed on Earth some time ago. And It was around the time of the Ice Age. They don't understand much about it. However, they do know that the thing, as they call it, is very dangerous, and that it is a self-replicating supercell organism, or as they call it, a life form that can copy other life forms. And they did have a few questions to ask Midoriya, them trying to get an interview and learn what he might know, since, from their research, people who have turned into this life form, or the other way around, they show no difference. Your best friend can be this creature, and you wouldn't even know. However, they do know certain things. This creature cannot replicate metal objects or tattoos. So, as long as them all pulling down parts of their shirts, or pulling up clothing, showing off different tattoos, stating that as long as they do actually have these exposed, they know that they are quite alright. And it would be quite the big concern if one day they all just disappeared, before clicking on another image on the projector. And Midoriya actually does see another thing. It talking about the animal test subjects. Now, as Midoriya does actually look at that picture, he feels strange for a second, as the desk in front of him is pushed outwards, and the chair behind him, well, Midoriya, he kicks it backwards. Before, he just sits down on all fours for a second, like a dog. As he quickly does this begin to itch away at his ear. And the doctors find this to be quite weird. 001, are you alright? Midoriya confused for a second, looking around. Now, this is whenever a dog is actually brought in. And it is looking around the room quite weirdly, before its eyes do go dead set on Midoriya. Now, this is whenever the subject actually just look back at the doctors, and the doctors find this to be quite fascinating. Them not even giving the rest of the explanation, simply talking about how Midoriya, he must already feel it then. The strange connection between him and this dog, or this subject, stating that it is quite strange. Him and this creature right here share emotional stimuli. Whatever Midoriya feels, he feels. Whatever this thing feels, Midoriya feels. And they believe that it applies to the creature as well. And they would like to try out a different thing. They've already been getting rid of their other test subjects, and want to try and treat Midoriya's weird ideas or his current condition the same way they plan to treat other people. Now, this is whenever they actually do have the person who walked in with a gun bring it upwards and point it straight at the animal. Now, Midoriya actually does regain some sense in himself, as a loud gunshot can be heard. Now, Midoriya, he quickly feels a whole lot of pain, and he quickly does just drop forwards and begin to scream out, grabbing away at his head or the side of his head, and screaming and crying, along with letting out what can be best described as a feral howl. Now, with that, Midoriya is in tears, and he can comprehend it all. The thing that he's connected to, and for the next 30 seconds, he can feel it die. It is a very strange feeling, death. Humans should only feel this experience once, and they shouldn't feel it again. It should be the last thing you ever feel. However, Midoriya is experiencing it now. And after those 30 seconds do pass, Midoriya, his eyes, do somewhat go unglazed, as he quickly does curl up into a ball, and not move for the next hour. Now, eventually they do actually have to get Midoriya back to his room. And with Midoriya in his current state, he's very fragile. So they do go to some measures to get him back there. Basically using what could be best described as... This is probably going to sound really fucking stupid. A dustpan and a giant... Basically think of it like a broom and a dustpan. That's literally the best thing I can think of. Basically they use it to scoop Midoriya off the ground and slide it upwards. Midoriya sliding backwards into a box that they can conceal and take back to the room. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. And I know probably a lot of you guys are currently laughing your asses off right now, because I'm trying to stop myself from laughing, and it's very hard. That just broke the tense situation I had going anyways. Now, with all that, Midoriya, he does actually look around for a minute. And he can feel things change. As he does actually stand up onto his feet. And he finds himself on a barren planet, looking around. And he does actually feel the atmosphere. He's not breathing. However, this thing in his lungs doesn't feel like oxygen. It feels like something else. It does somewhat burn, but he can't really tell. What is it? Him looking around and seeing multiple different creatures flying around and attacking each other and trying to fight to survive. Midoriya, he feels a strange sensation come over him as he busts into a full-on sprint. And they actually observe Midoriya's behavior. Midoriya running into or running at the wall, before quickly just jumping onto the wall and then onto the roof, moving on all fours. Now, Midoriya would begin to exhibit strange animal-like behavior. However, it does not seem like any animal that would be found on Earth. Now, with all that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing night. And hopefully John Wick does not come after me. Because I know someone's probably going to make that joke in the comments.